I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here at Hub Culture's inaugural lunch of the Ordinary Club of Extraordinary Women. I'm really pleased now to be joined by LIZ MERMIN, and she is a filmmaker and the director of visual at the Thomson Reuters Foundation. Now, you've been doing some interesting work with personal storytelling in online videos, and I'd love to hear a few examples of where you think this is kind of working and making a real difference. Tell me what you've been doing in Bosnia.
Sure. I mean, there's been a great explosion of online documentary, and it's a really exciting space to get out short stories that, you know, tell the human side of the issues we read about in the news all the time. And Bosnia is a bit of a forgotten conflict. We were there, I went over there and filmed with a program that works with young boys. Teenage boys, sorry, works with teenagers to teach them to respect women, to give them an anti-violence training, anger management. You know, there's a whole generation that grew up after the war with no economic opportunity and no hope, and there's a lot of frustration, a lot of violence going on there. So this was just the story of one boy whose father had abandoned him, who had been, you know, a self-described violent thug, and had turned around because of this program. It was a very, very emotional story, a wonderful kid, and that's done really well. It's been seen in Bosnia and around the world. It's been used to spur discussions and, you know, hopefully get people talking about the aftermath of war, which I think is quite important given what the world looks like today. We tend to forget about these places once the wars end.
Yeah, once the filmmakers have moved on, once the news, I guess, cameras have moved on.
Right, no one talks about Bosnia now unless it's about Syrians and Afghans trying to get through it.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it than that.
Tell me about what you've been, the film that you've made in Bangladesh as well. I believe it involves child marriage.
Yeah, so I've just run out of an edit of a film about child marriage being driven by climate change in Bangladesh. That's part of a series called Hidden Connections. It's a pilot for a series, so we're hoping it'll be a series. And the concept is we take a social issue, a cultural issue, or even a political issue that seems to have nothing to do with climate change, and you show how actually it's being exacerbated by climate change. Climate change is pushing people to migrate, climate change is pushing people to change their behavior in certain ways, which is leading, in this case, to an increase in child marriage. So lots of rural families in Bangladesh who are suffering from rising sea levels or river erosion, losing their homes, poverty's driving them to the city. Once they get to the city, they're terrified about, you know, their girls being attacked or even just walking down the road with a boy and someone thinking that they're loose. So they want to marry them off quite quickly. They're also living in tiny crowded, you know, slums. So there's an increase in the cities of child marriage. So we're looking at the bigger idea is to get people thinking that, you know, climate change isn't just about, you know, more rain or more heat. It's affecting us socially and culturally as well, and politically. And that's a project with participant media. So it should be interesting. It's going to have an activist sort of campaign linked to it and reach out to places where people can learn more about both climate change and child marriage.
So I think it's interesting in terms of the fact that you're using documentaries to try to influence social change. Nothing's new about that. Documentaries have tried to do that for a while, but what do you think what you're doing now is a bit different? Are they shorter? Is it on the online section?
Well, they're definitely shorter. I mean, I was a feature documentary maker, and you know that market is being squeezed, and there's this plethora of outlets for short documentaries now. The problem is getting noticed. So you know, it's a whole new world. We've got all the films we do are based on wonderful characters. The girls in Bangladesh sort of leap off the screen. So that's the same thing as any documentary you would do. But you've got to compete to find the space online. You know, you want to tell a story where someone says, I identify with this girl, or I want to share her story, I believe in this. And I have to say, I'm learning. I mean, you know, I keep meeting with other people in this short documentary world, and we're all trying to figure out how do you get people to watch stuff online. So the great potential is that you've got a global audience. You know, young people use the internet, as we all know. But, you know, this billion-dollar question is still, how do you get people to come to your video?
Liz, thank you very much for stopping by the camera here at the Ordinary Club of Extraordinary Women, and I'm Edie Lush.